Hey y'all, welcome and or welcome back to my channel. My name is Janae, if you didn't know, and today's video is day 4 of True Crime Christmas Time, so if you're ready, let's go. Alright y'all, so today's case is another UK case, and I got my coffee here with me again today, and we just gonna go ahead and jump right into the video today. I don't think I got nothing to say to y'all. So on December 17, 2010, Joanna Yeates would be enjoying a night out with her friends at the Bristol Ram pub in Bristol. She would leave the pub around 8 p.m. and unfortunately that would be the last time that any of her friends or family ever seen her again. Joanna Yeates was born on April 19, 1985 in Hampshire, England to her parents David and Teresa Yeates. And Joanna had a pretty, I want to say privileged life, more or less just blessed with being able to have nicer things in life. Her parents sent her to a private school, and I don't know if it's the same in the UK as it is in the US, but private schools are not cheap. She was definitely afforded a lot of great opportunities in life. And Joanna did really well in school, not only in her primary years, but in college as well. She would get her A-levels at Riddle College in landscape architecture. And if y'all don't know what A-levels is, from my understanding, it's kind of like the bachelor's degree. And then she would go on to get her postgraduate diploma at the University of, please don't come for me because I'm about to say this all wrong, Gloucestershire. Gloucestershire, 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 Gloucestershire. Oh, Gloucestershire, I think. And that would be in landscape architecture as well. And in 2008, when Joanna was 23 years old, she would be working at an architecture firm called Highland Eggert Driver. And this is where she met a man named Greg Reardon, who was also a landscape architect, and they began a relationship. Now, their relationship, I guess it moved pretty quickly because in 2009, when the company moved to Bristol, both of them knew that they wanted to follow the company to Bristol. And so they decided not only to move down there to Bristol to follow the company, but they also decided to get an apartment together. And they got an apartment on Carnegie Road. Now, after a little while, they got settled in, and Joanna actually ended up moving companies, so she would no longer be working at the firm with Greg. However, she was still working as a landscape architect at another firm called Building Design Partnership. And so, like I said, they were getting pretty settled in, developing routines, making friends. And this was all very exciting for Joanna. But one thing that she wasn't exactly thrilled about, it didn't necessarily have anything to do with her job or the life that they were creating, but it was the fact that on the weekend of December 17th, Greg wouldn't be there. He would be spending that weekend back in Sheffield with his family, and Joanna just wasn't necessarily excited about being alone. However, she was a big girl, and she decided that she would use that time while he was away to start preparing for a Christmas party that she and Greg planned on throwing at their apartment. And so on December 17th, when Greg left, Joanna, she went about her day, and then later on that evening, she met up with a couple co-workers at the Bristol Ram pub, and Joanna didn't want to be out too late, so she left the pub around 8 o'clock. Now, she would be walking home, and the pub was just about 600 meters from her house, which is about 0.3 miles. And if you like me and you don't speak in miles or meters, it was about a 30-minute walk. And yeah, after she left, like I said, that was the last time any of her friends and family seen her alive. And so over the course of the weekend, Greg was calling and texting Joanna, but he wasn't getting an answer. And he didn't really want to think the worst right away, so he kind of figured that maybe she was really busy with the party preparations and that she just hadn't got to her phone. She was probably just enjoying just some alone time. He didn't really know, but he was just trying not to think of the worst. So when he got home on December 19th around 8 p.m., he went to the apartment that he shared with Joanna, and he realized that Joanna was nowhere to be seen. But he did see her purse and her keys. So instead of panicking right away, he was like, okay, well, she was obviously at home, so let's call her. He calls her, and he hears Joanna's phone ringing from her coat pocket that's in the closet. And so he called the police. Now, once the police start searching and looking around, they realize that there had been no forced entry, and they know that Joanna was home because all of her things are here. So she did indeed make it home from the pub that night. However, but now the question is, where did she go? What happened to Joanna? So the police started search, and while they're looking for her, they're asking people around the apartment complex, had anybody seen her? More importantly, they talked to her landlord, who also lives in the apartment complex, and he said that he hadn't seen her. And then they talked to her next door neighbors, who was a guy named Vincent Tabak and his girlfriend, and neither one of them saw her either. So a massive search ensues, and pretty much everybody in Bristol is praying for Joanna's safe return. Joanna's disappearance became one of the biggest searches and investigations in Bristol history. And so, like I said, everybody was pretty much invested in her safe return. However, on December 25th, when a couple was walking a dog, they saw something peeking out of the snow. And unlike myself, they went to investigate, and that is when they saw a body of a young lady who would later be identified as Joanna Yeates. Now, when she got to the medical examiner's office, they determined that she died from strangulation, but there was no evidence of sexual assault. So now that they found Joanna, they have to turn this from a missing person investigation to a murder inquiry. And obviously, the first person they're going to look at is Greg, because he is her boyfriend and they do live together. However, all of Greg's alibis check out. He was in Sheffield with his family, and there was absolutely no way that he could have been a part of Joanna's disappearance or murder. So they go back and talk to Vincent and his girlfriend, and they find out that Vincent's girlfriend was away at a Christmas party. And they find out that Vincent's girlfriend was away at a Christmas party that night, and so she was cleared as a suspect. And then they started looking at Vincent, but he also had an alibi. He was seen on CCTV footage that night around the time that they believed Joanna to have been killed, and so he was cleared as well. But then they doubled back on her landlord, whose name is Christopher Jeffries. And Mr. Jeffries, he's a very eccentric individual. He was just very strange, okay? Strange enough that police would end up arresting him on December 30th for suspicion of murder. So while he was in custody, they were collecting evidence and searching his apartment. They were trying to find something concrete to connect Christopher to Joanna's murder. And while they was doing this, Christopher bonded out of jail, and he was bombarded with hate, media all in his face. Just everybody had already deemed him guilty before they even found any evidence. Just based off the fact that he was arrested on suspicion of murder, he was already guilty in everybody's eyes. And so as the investigation continues, they receive a call from Vincent Tebeck, who is back in the Netherlands right now visiting his family for the new year. And he saw that Christopher was arrested for this. And so he called with a tip. He said that on the night of Joanna's disappearance, he actually did see Christopher. He said that he usually parks his car a certain way. And at the time when he's seen him, his car was parked facing this particular way that it's always faced. And he saw Christopher leave. And when he came back, he actually parked his car in the opposite direction. He was basically trying to say that Christopher was probably trying to hide something. And so investigators want to hear more. So they send one of their detectives out to the Netherlands to do an in-depth interview with Vincent. Once the investigator gets there, she starts talking to Vincent. And he's pretty much telling her the story that he told the investigator over the phone. And he also told the investigator that he might have been in Joanna's apartment just for a brief little second. But prior to this moment, when the police would talk to him, at any point, he never mentioned ever being in Joanna's apartment. So the investigator thought that was kind of strange, and she just went with her gut feeling, and she asked him for a DNA sample. Now, I really don't know why he was so gung-ho to give over his DNA, because he knew it was going to be a match. Probably because he didn't want to seem suspicious. But in any event, his DNA matched the DNA that was found on Joanna. And so now they have Joanna's real killer, which is Vincent Tebeck and not Christopher Jeffries. So they put this man through hell, and he was innocent the whole time. Vincent was arrested on January 20th, 2011 and was charged with Joanna's murder on the 22nd. Now, I told y'all earlier that he provided an alibi when the police came to him the first time. And so the police wanted to go back and see, like, okay, we know he did this, but let's look at his alibi. So he was seen on CCTV footage going into a store. And so they took a look back at the footage, and they saw him go into the store, but they didn't see him buy nothing. And when he came back out of the store, he stood in the little foyer area of the store, you know, between the front door and the door to the store. Do y'all know what I'm talking about? I don't know. It's like if you're walking in Walmart, you got the first set of doors, the little corridor, and then the second set of doors, right? So he stood right in the middle of there and sent a text to his girlfriend. He did that so that he could actually make sure that he was seen on CCTV footage. And he knew that he would be caught on camera because he was an architectural engineer. And I didn't know what that meant. But basically, he studies foot traffic. And he studies foot traffic and people and spaces. And he worked with companies to let them know, like, where to put the CCTV footage, which areas have the most traffic, what cameras would be most effective where. So he knew where the cameras were in this store, and he stood there in the middle of the hallway and sent that text to create his alibi. And then they saw him go back into the store where he actually did purchase something. Based off of all the evidence, they determined that she was probably in the trunk of his car while he was in the store. Now, Vincent would end up confessing to the crime. However, he did say that it wasn't intentional and it was manslaughter and not murder. He said that he was walking past her apartment and she had her blinds open for whatever reason and she waved him in, which, by the way, would be kind of strange to wave him in because they were neighbors, but they weren't neighborly. They weren't friends. It wasn't like a, oh, hey, what's up, neighbor? How you doing? Come visit type of situation. It wasn't like that. And Joanna was already nervous and not excited about being alone. So why would she invite this man into her house that she barely know? He said that once he got in there, Joanna started being really, really flirty. And he, picked up on these signals and he made an advance at her. But once he made his advance, she rejected him and started screaming. And he asked her, like, please be quiet. Please don't scream, girl. And she wouldn't listen. And so in an attempt to get her quiet, he put his hands around her neck. Now, investigators believe that this story that he told was only a partial truth. Because once investigators started digging into Vincent, they realized that he was into like hardcore porn. And the way that Joanna's body was found was the same as a woman in a video that Vincent had been watching. And so they believed that he was pretty much just fulfilling out some sick sadistic fantasy on Joanna. Vincent was convicted of Joanna's murder on October 28, 2011, and he was sentenced to life in prison with a minimum of 20 years, which I hope he don't never get out of jail. Like, just the whole nature of the crime itself, just the whole entire thing, it was literally just a coincidence that this particular weekend Joanna would be alone and his girlfriend would be away at a Christmas party that wasn't ending until the wee hours of the morning. Like, the opportunity that was created there is just so sad because it just didn't have to happen. She was just a light to so many people, and for her life to be taken in the way that it was, it's just really heartbreaking. Yeah, y'all, that is all I have for you guys. Thank you so very much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you all tomorrow for day 5 of True Crime Christmas Time. Bye. Ooh. I hope they don't hear your stomach growling like that, baby. You need to go eat. That was trifling. And this is where she met a man named Roger. Nope. Ooh, Roger. He from the last story, girl. I feel like certain words should only be said with a British accent. I don't feel like I should be saying she was in a pub. I feel like I should be saying she was in a pub. And then she would go on to get her postmaster bitch, not postmaster.